So if you've been following the channel for a while, you would know that I absolutely love Parfum fragrances. When it comes down to when I think about what a lot of my favorites are and what I wear the most, usually they're Parfums. And personally, I think at least where we're at right now in the fragrance community with the releases that are out there, the Parfums are just some of the best. And I selected 10 to help prove that opinion of mine. Because of course that is just an opinion. I have some favorites that aren't Parfums, but a lot of what I'm gravitating towards and wearing are Parfum concentrated scents. I love how they perform on my skin. Typically the progression to get to a Parfum means you end up with something that's a lot more refined and just perfected, and they just work really well for me. I used to shoot videos outside all the time. Oh geez, remember. It's been a long time since I have, so I apologize if the lighting isn't perfect. It's a little bit tough. I forgot how hard this was to get everything set up. Now, this first one is a brand new release. It is Bulgarian Man In Black Parfum. Now, this one is something that has probably been in the making for a while. It's something that probably a lot of us have been wanting. Because the original, while it is really good, it has been out for a long time, and that was kind of the peak of the Bulgarian Man lineup. So I was super excited to see a Parfum, and I do really like this one. I do believe that it is an improvement over the original Bulgarian Man In Black. There's nothing wrong with that original, and the original was kind of like a more grown-up version of Spice Bomb Eau de Toilette, if you want to look at it that way. Now this one is kind of taking an even more grown-up approach on Bulgarian Man In Black, with a little bit of iris, dark woody notes, and then of course the spices that you would expect from the original. You're noticing that there isn't a boozy note listed off like in the original. You still pick up on it a little bit. Now, this one is not going to be something that you're going to want to rush out and pay full retail for, at least in my opinion. I think it's good. I don't think it's that good. But this one has hit discounters, so it's one that you can pick up now for below retail, which I think is a lot more reasonable. It's not to say that the original Man In Black is obsolete now. I still think it's really good, but this one to me is better. Next up, we're going to go with an obvious one, Acqua di Gio Parfum. So this originated as Profumo. You guys know the drill by now, but since this is in production and Profumo no longer isn't, this is what we're rolling with from here on out. And this has already had some weirdness going on because this is a 125 ml bottle, okay? Just double checking as I speak, but yeah, 125. They switched everything over and now they're back to 100 ml. And that didn't take them long to do that either, so it already kind of was throwing people off. So I think if you were to buy it now, at least at retail, chances are it's going to be a 100. Some of the discounters still have the 125s laying around. And it's true, this is Acqua di Gio Profumo in a nutshell. Are there minor differences between the two? Yes, but not notable. And it's definitely not to the point where it's worth hunting out Acqua di Gio Profumo instead of just buying the Parfum at discounters, right? Just go for this one. And I've always said that Acqua di Gio Profumo is one of the best flankers ever released within the line and even outside of the Acqua di Gio lineup. It is just a flanker done right. They did everything right to improve it and make it better. It's kind of like a more nighttime approach of, you know, a marine scent, essentially. Kind of more of a date night, evening out, more classy smell, and more classy take on the original Acqua di Gio. And again, going back to the beginnings of my channel, Profumo has been just one that I've loved ever since, and this one is taking its place. Truly a fantastic flanker with a little bit of a smoky approach on that original Acqua di Gio DNA. This is a must-have. Next up, we have Aaro, the Most Wanted Parfum. This to me is beautiful. It opens up with this ginger, sweet concoction, right? So the ginger kind of gives it this fizzy, bubbly opening, and then it dries down to a sweeter, more kind of wintertime style. And it's very different than the original Wanted and Wanted by Night, and even the Most Wanted, right? There's quite a bit of a differentiation between all of them. And the opening of this with that bubbly nature kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Dunhill Icon opening. It's almost like a fizzy grape smell off the top, which, yeah, that's not going to work with the wind. But yeah, you can pick up on it. And man, this stuff smells great. And it's the opening that really gets me pumped up for this one. That's one of my favorite parts about the scent. And then it still smells great in the dry down too. It kind of sweetens up more and it becomes more of what you would expect for a most wanted or an Aaro wanted smell. As we've gone down the line, they've kind of gotten richer and sweeter, and that's what this one did as well. Coming in at a Parfum concentration, it has great performance. It's not necessarily super beast mode off your skin as far as projection is concerned, but a lot of these Parfums, they're a little bit more moderate, they're a little bit more intimate, but they do leave a trail, like a heavy scent trail behind you, and they also, just across the board, all have pretty good longevity too. And so, yeah, a lot of the times with the Parfum, you're getting an increase in performance, although that's not always the case. Like with Bulgarian Man In Black Parfum, you're not seeing a huge increase there, but the scent DNA itself is improved, and that's kind of how a few of these are. Although, again, a lot of these you are getting better performance. Next up, we have Jean Paul Gaultier Le Male Le Parfum. So, you know, this was kind of the flagship after Ultra Male, which Ultra Male, huge hype beast, as you guys know. This one coming out not long after, and then kind of taking up that slack when Ultra Male started to get played out. Because there's definitely a point where people kind of had enough of that one. It's like, okay, this one's been talked about a lot, time to move on to something else. And so that's where this one comes in. You get a nice cardamom, iris, peppery, vanillic opening, essentially, and even transitions into the dry down as well. It kind of takes a little bit of the sweetness from Ultra Male, mixed with a little bit of that lavender vanilla freshness from the original Le Male, and then just a cardamom spicy kick on top, giving it that unique smell that you don't really get from any of the others. And I think this is yet another perfect example of a flanker done right. It makes a lot of sense. This one also is more appealing for a lot of people than Ultra Male, given that it really dials back on the sweetness a lot. That was one of the main things that people did not like a lot about Ultra Male, was that pear, cinnamon, vanilla overload. This doesn't have that going on, so it's going to be a bit more wearable and more appealing, again, to a lot of people. And I could smell this stuff off the atomizer, not even having sprayed it recently. And I'm outside too, obviously, so just shows that it does have a good amount of potency behind it. Next up, we have a pretty obvious one for me as well. It's Dior Homme Parfum. Yeah, no surprise, right? I mean, it has been a favorite of mine ever since I first got it in, right? It's just, man, it's always been something that's impressed me, because it's yet another pretty big step up from Dior Homme Intense. So as far as the difference in scent is concerned, it's a pretty big one. And it's one of those situations where just because you like Dior Homme Intense doesn't mean that you're automatically going to like this one, because this is utilizing a lot of oud, rose, and leather on top of that iris DNA, making it a bit more potent, a bit more unique, a bit more daring overall. That oud-rose combo is what's going to throw it off for some people. And I'm not always the biggest fan of that combination of notes either, but it works really well in this case. It is just such a premium, expensive, and classy smelling scent, unlike anything else I've ever experienced before. Now, if this is too rich for your blood as far as pricing is concerned, you could get FOMO Gary's Den. It's going to get you just about spot on for about $35, $37. But if you do want to put up the money and get the real deal, I don't think you're going to regret it, given if you like the scent DNA. So maybe sample this one first, or buy the clone first. That's a good way to get into the scent without paying, you know, almost $200 for this. But man, it is just yet another example of a Parfum done right. Next up, we have Manera Intense Cedrat Boisé. So yet another one where, look, I've been wearing the original Eau de Parfum essentially since the beginning. It was my first ever niche purchase, that Eau de Parfum, and worn it a ton. I would wear it all the time, kind of as a signature scent. Once they came out with this Intense, it was, you know, all downhill from there as far as me wearing the Eau de Parfum. I'm really not going to wear the EDP anymore. And that doesn't mean that it's a bad scent, but I just think that this new Intense straight concentration, or Parfum, is better in about every way. It performs better, it's a bit richer, the quality seems to be slightly improved, even though the price is a little bit more expensive, but not by a ton. Just what extra you're paying for this one is made up for it, in my opinion. So, you know, whereas the original might be $70 on discounters, you might be paying $100 for this. Not a huge increase in price, given the value that is returned to you. So I think if you're in the market for Cedrat Boisé, go for the Intense instead. Seriously, this is the one to get. It is such a vast improvement, and you're not going to regret it. Let's keep it moving with Bleu de Chanel Parfum version. It's got that lemon zest with the woods, the amberwood, the sandalwood, all of that stuff. It's a nice, bright, kind of sour kick off the opening, and then kind of transitions into more of that Bleu de Chanel style. It is, to me, the best Bleu de Chanel, or at least it's my favorite. I think a lot of people still might prefer the Eau de Parfum, given that it has that iconic grapefruit and scent smell with the birch. That's kind of lost here a little bit. They're doing it in a different way. And a lot of it is that nostalgic feeling that you get from the Eau de Toilette and the Eau de Parfum that keeps people hanging on, and I fully understand that. But I think, again, if you're already spending the money on the Eau de Parfum, which is a good amount, you're already there. You're already most of the way there. For a lot of people, they might kind of appreciate spending a little bit more while you're just about to pull the trigger and bump up to the Parfum. I do think it is an improvement. You do get better performance out of this one. Not that these were ever known for being great performance to begin with, but it is better. It's a bit richer. It's a bit more interesting, a bit more complex. Not everybody wants that, but I think a lot of people who are watching this video would appreciate that. So Bleu de Chanel Parfum, it is super wearable. It's a great compliment getter, great quality. Nothing to dislike about this stuff, except for the price. So we're going to jump from one blue to another with Polo Blue Parfum. This one has oak in here with some orange and then just kind of the original Polo Blue DNA essentially, but more of a modernized, refined, and mature take on it. It's less soapy, like out of the shower smelling like the original. I don't really think the original is worth a whole lot in today's age with all of the blue fragrances and all of the flankers as well in the Polo Blue line. I think this one is infinitely better. And again, a lot of people are going to stick with that Eau de Toilette for nostalgic reasons, and it makes total sense, right? But if you're new or you're building up a collection, I just don't think it's worth spending the money on the Eau de Toilette when you could go for pretty much any of the flankers, which would be better. And I think the Parfum is the best that we have currently. We're probably going to see an elixir, right? It only makes sense. Maybe even a water-based one, and maybe it would somehow be better. But I just think if you're going to put your money somewhere, this one has gotten really, really decent on discounters as far as pricing is concerned. Get Polo Blue Parfum. Okay, next up, for people with deep pockets, we have Amouage Interlude 53. So yet another straight concentration, and, is it worth the money, right? I don't know. That's up to you, right? If you're writing the check, you have to decide that. It retails for $500. We're not paying that. I didn't pay that for this or Reflection 45. Just not going to do it. But these do pop up on discounters for $300-ish. That's a little bit better, but still very expensive. Do I think it's an improvement over the original Amouage Interlude? Personally, yes, I do. I think the added depth, richness, complexity, and performance, not that it needed to be any stronger, I think all of that is there. I do think it's better. I'm not saying that it's worth everybody to go out and buy this over that, though. This is my opinion, because that difference in price is going to be significant. So it's up to the purchaser to decide that. For me, I'm happy to have this, and if I had to do it over again and buy either the original or this, I would just get this and not get the original. Same thing with Reflection 45. I think they are major improvements, although they are pricey. Last up for this video, we have Versace Aeros Parfum. It has been a favorite of mine ever since it first came out. And the main reason why is because it fixes that lack of performance that has occurred over the years from the Eau de Toilette, where that used to be so popular because of its strength. That has been adjusted as time has gone on. And so I think if you're going to buy an Aeros, you should get two of them. I think you should get the Parfum, and I think you should get Flame. That's as of right now. I understand Aeros Energy is out and about somewhere. I don't have it yet. I can't find it. So that might change when I get that, but as of what you can buy right now, I don't think you need to mess with the Eau de Parfum, and I don't think you need to mess with the Eau de Toilette. Flame and the Parfum are the best. This is essentially the Eau de Toilette just revived. It's a very strong performing scent that is worth every penny. Aeros Parfum, this is the way to go. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for me. Some of the best Parfum fragrances. I really do think that concentration is great because, again, like I said, the progression to get there. Starting off with an Eau de Toilette and then an Eau de Parfum and then maybe an Eau Fraiche and then arriving at a Parfum. they've gone and worked through all the kinks, and it just gets more refined as it goes. The elixirs that have been coming out are great as well. They really come with a hefty price point, and I've been liking a lot of those too. But man, as much as it's annoying to see all these flankers, they are making, you know, pretty drastic improvements. I think I picked the wrong day to do this outside because it is almost 90 degrees and I am ready to be done. So hopefully this helped you guys out. Some fantastic Parfum fragrances. I will link them all down below. If you want to check any of these out, hit the links, you can pick them up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.